How many dreams have you buried because you were afraid of being judged? The fear of judgment. Man, it has held me back from a lot of my dreams. Something I had to overcome. Today I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about what judgment looks like, where it stems from, and most of all, how to step into being your authentic self. Oh, the fear of judgment. Well, it comes out, it looks like people pleasing. It looks like changing your behavior to make you appear something you're not, so others will like you or not think bad of you, or it's kind of stems in not feeling like you're enough. I certainly struggled with this, and it still today can rear its ugly head. If you're a content creator, you have dealt with the fear of judgment. What are they going to think about my content? What do I look like on camera? Did I say something stupid? And these are things that I used to tell myself. What are they going to think of me? What if I do the wrong thing? What if I feel, say something stupid? What if I do something wrong? What if I'm not dressed right? Or just, it was so crippling and painful. I was mean to myself. So the fear of judgment is rooted in me judging myself. I was my own worst abuser. Judge, jury, and executioner. I certainly did this to myself. That negative self-talk, and then I turned myself inside out so that you would be happy, or you would like me, or approve of me, that you would think I was okay. I should have got an Academy Award because I could act like everything was fine, which means frantic, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. I'm fine. I'm fine. My hair could be on fire, but I would tell you I'm fine. I was dying on the inside. So locked up in a prison of what other people thought of me. Oh, how did I break free of this? Well, as I've shared before, I went to counseling. And this was one of the things that came out. And, he really challenged me about, if one of my children did that, would I tie them to a whipping post and whip them? Well, of course not. And he said, that's what you're doing to yourself. And it really, really took me back. And I thought, oh, wow. And I became very aware of how I judged myself. Because I was so judgmental of myself, then I judged you. Because you see, when I judged you, I would find faults or where you were lacking and size you up. And that made me feel better. I've learned today that my candle doesn't shine any brighter when I try to blow someone else's out. So I had to first stop judging myself. And then I could stop judging you. And then this fear of judgment began to lessen. It got to where I wasn't so afraid of it. And then I realized I wasn't that important. And other people weren't thinking about me that much. What a concept. I just wasn't that important. Other people are so tied up in what's going on with them that they don't think about me that much. And so I had to overcome that. And the less judgment I had toward myself, the less I judged you, and the less I feared your judgment. Now, this is a control thing. It doesn't sound like it, but if I'm trying to control what another person thinks, man, I can't do that. I am powerless over what other people think. And it's none of my business what other people think of me. You start a YouTube channel, this fear will rear its ugly head. It will. And you will question yourself. Is this the right video? Do I look okay? Do I sound all right? All of those things and all of those questionings and self-doubts. I had to start following my intuitive thoughts and my intuitive ideas for content. And how can I help you? How can you be helped by what I have to share here? So, meet this fear head on. Stop judging yourself. What does God say about you? You're wonderfully made by God. And there's only one of you. And be authentic. And it's not easy when you're riddled with this fear or any of the others I've talked about in my series of fears. I had to accept myself as I was. And before I could change. To know where I'm at, to get to where I'm going. Have tolerance for myself. Tolerance is accepting another person's humanness. Well, I had to do that for myself. I had to be tolerant of myself so I could be tolerant of you. Would I treat a friend like I was treating myself? Of course not. And then give myself some grace and learn to love myself. And when you're authentically who you were created to be, this fear lessens. The fear of judgment. Man. And so today I still deal with this fear. I call them high-stake events, when you've got something going on to where you really want to make a good first impression. Like the first time you go to a party at your husband's work, a job interview, meeting your boss for the first time. There's so many. What about, you're dating someone and you go to meet his parents. You want to put on you want a good impression. You want to make a good impression. The best thing you can do is just be yourself. You might be nervous and you might, take a little more time to get ready or dressed or, that sort of thing. That type of fear is normal. We all face it. It's overcoming the fear. How do I overcome fear? Well, my problem is I have lack of power. I have no power. In and of myself, there's so many things that I learned to do without having the power to do it. But my solution is there is a power greater than me, and it is God. And if I go to God to have the power, then I can do so many things. So many things. And I have a quote that hangs on my wall over there that I look at. And it's this girl, she's parachuting. She's in the free fall. And it's a quote by Albert Einstein. And it says, if we did all the things we are capable of doing, we would literally astound ourselves. And I have done that. I have looked for evidence of the truth, the positive truth about myself. And if I don't judge myself, then why would I be afraid that someone else judged me? People are going to judge. And they are judging you by their experiences, their belief systems, and their thoughts. And I only fall under the judgment of God. And I try to be the best person I can be today. And like my tagline says, be you on purpose. Everyone else is taken. Be you. Love yourself. Be accepting and tolerant of your humanness. We aren't perfect. None of us. None of us. And my mistakes and my faults and my weaknesses are part of who make me who I am today. I can be more empathetic because I made a lot of mistakes. I can also be less judgmental because I no longer judge myself. And in turn, then I am not afraid if you judge me. You're going to judge me. And it's okay. I'm okay with that. But today, I'm going to tap into the power. You know, I went to Canada a year ago to see a friend. And we went to Niagara Falls. It was so impressive to me that a natural phenomenon of that majesty had that much power. And I'm standing on this little boat, and that water is causing, you know, all of this turmoil in the water. We're rocking around, and the spray's hitting us, and the pounding of that water. There was so much power in that. So much power. And yet, I forget God is more powerful than that. And if I can tap into God's power, I can overcome any fear or any obstacle in my life. Sometimes I forget to do that. Prayer. Searching His Word. Try to feed my faith with the promises of God. If what I share here speaks to you, subscribe, hit like so I know that, I'm speaking to you. Comment. What are some fears you have? This is a biggie for me, a big fear. And I continue to tell myself, you're not that important. But I also have become authentically me. Which brings me to be you on purpose.